The rare power only a broken empath awakens after surviving the darkness is not the power to become cold. It is the power to remain soft without ever becoming unprotected again. There is a kind of empath who does not become powerful because life was gentle with them. They become powerful because life took them into places where their softness was tested, misunderstood, drained, betrayed, and used, and somehow they still came out with a heart, not the same heart, a wiser one, a quieter one. A heart that no longer opens every door just because someone knocks with pain in their voice. A heart that no longer confuses someone's wound with permission to be wounded by them. A heart that no longer believes love means losing yourself slowly so someone else can feel whole. That is the rare power, not revenge, not bitterness, not becoming untouchable, but becoming so deeply awake that you can love without handing people the knife again. A broken empath knows what it feels like to be everyone's safe place while having no safe place of their own. They know what it feels like to understand people who never tried to understand them. They know what it feels like to forgive someone before their own heart has even stopped bleeding. They know what it feels like to sense something is wrong, doubt themselves, stay anyway, and later realize their body was telling the truth from the beginning. That is why the darkness changes them. Because before the darkness, the empath believes their gift is feeling everything. After the darkness, they realize their gift is knowing what not to carry. There is an empath lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying words that cut deeper than they were supposed to. The room is silent, but their mind is loud. They keep asking themselves why someone who claimed to care kept doing the exact thing they knew would hurt. They keep trying to understand the pattern, the apology, the distance, the shift in energy, the lie hidden inside a soft tone. And because they are an empath, their first instinct is not anger. It is explanation. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they did not mean it. Maybe they love me but do not know how to show it. Maybe if I explain it better, they will understand. That is how the empath stays too long. They do not stay because they are weak. They stay because they can see the wound behind the behavior, and they keep hoping the wound will become softer than the pattern. But darkness teaches them a truth they never wanted to learn. A person's wound can explain their behavior without making that behavior safe for you. That sentence becomes a turning point because the broken empath finally understands that compassion without discernment is dangerous. Understanding someone does not mean giving them unlimited access. Forgiving someone does not mean returning to the same version of pain. Seeing someone's sadness does not mean becoming responsible for their healing. The first rare power awakened after darkness is discernment, not suspicion. Discernment, the ability to feel deeply but watch clearly, the ability to hear someone's words but trust the pattern more. The ability to notice the charm, the tears, the apology, the promise, the emotional confession, and still ask what actually changed, because before the darkness, the empath was often moved by emotion. A soft message could reopen the door. An apology could reset the cycle. A sad story could melt the boundary. A moment of vulnerability could make them forget months of inconsistency, but after the darkness, the empath becomes harder to confuse. They no longer ask, did they sound sorry? They ask, did they become safer? They no longer ask, did they miss me? They ask, did they respect me when they had access? They no longer ask, can I feel their pain? They ask, is their pain still becoming my wound? That is power, Kakiet power, the kind that does not need to explain itself to everyone. There is an empath sitting with a phone in their hand. A message appears from someone who once knew exactly how to pull them back. It says, I miss you. It says, I need you. It says, you changed. It says, just enough to touch the old wound. The old empath would answer instantly. The broken empath who has survived the darkness pauses. They feel the old pull. They feel the memory. They feel the ache. But then they also feel the truth. They remember the nights they lost sleep. They remember the way their chest tightened around this person's energy. They remember the apologies that never became repair. They remember how many times they were made to feel guilty for needing basic emotional safety. So they do not answer from longing. They answer from self-respect, or they do not answer at all. That is the second rare power. Emotional restraint. A broken empath becomes powerful when they stop reacting to every emotional hook. They can feel guilt and not obey it. They can feel loneliness and not return to the old pain. They can miss someone and still keep the door closed. They can understand someone and still choose distance. They can love deeply and still say, not like is not coldness. That is emotional maturity, because the old empath was reachable through everything, reachable through silence, reachable through sadness, reachable through guilt, reachable through someone else's crisis, reachable through the fear of being called selfish, reachable through the hope that this time would be different. But the empath who survives darkness changes the locks. They are no longer easily opened by emotional pressure. They are not unreachable to love. They are unreachable to manipulation. And there is a difference. The third rare power is the ability to see hidden motives without losing compassion. This is difficult because many people become bitter after betrayal. They begin expecting the worst. They close their heart. They call it wisdom, but sometimes it is just pain wearing armor. The awakened empath does something rarer. They become careful without becoming cruel. They can sense fake kindness and step back quietly. They can feel hidden envy and share less. They can notice emotional hunger and refuse to become food. They can recognize manipulation without needing to destroy the person. They can see someone's darkness without becoming dark themselves. That is rare because anyone can become hard after pain, but only a rare soul becomes wise. There is an empath in a room full of people. Everyone is smiling. The conversation is normal. But the empath feels a strange heaviness from one person. The compliment sounds sweet, but something underneath feels sharp. The questions feel too personal. The attention feels too hungry. The energy feels like it wants access, not connection. The old empath would ignore the feeling because they wanted to be fair. The awakened empath does not accuse. They do not create drama. They do not expose. They simply slow down access, less sharing, less emotional openness, less immediate trust, more observation. And later, when the truth reveals itself, they do not feel proud. They feel confirmed. Their body was not being dramatic. It was protecting them. This is what darkness teaches the empath. The body often knows before the heart is ready. The body knows who drains you. The body knows who makes you feel smaller. The body knows who only loves your light because they can use it. The body knows who makes peace feel expensive. And after the darkness, the empath finally starts listening. The fourth rare power is self-protection without hatred. This is where the broken empath becomes truly different. They do not need revenge. They do not need to prove anything. They do not need to make people feel the same pain. They do not need to become cruel to feel strong. They simply stop participating in their own depletion. They stop answering calls that leave them empty. They stop forgiving patterns that keep repeating. They stop explaining boundaries to people who only respect access. They stop giving sacred parts of themselves to people who have shown careless hands. And when people say, you changed, the empath does not panic anymore. They know they changed. They were supposed to. The version of them that had no boundaries could not survive the next chapter. There is an empath sitting alone after finally choosing peace. The room is quiet. At first, quiet feels lonely. They are used to being needed, used to crisis, used to messages, used to emotional storms, used to measuring their worth by how much they could hold for others. But slowly, the silence begins to feel different. It starts to feel like rest. No one is asking them to fix anything. No one is draining their nervous system. No one is turning their softness into a place to unload pain. No one is making them doubt what they already know. For the first time in a long time, their energy belongs to them. That when the empath realizes the darkness did not only take things away, it gave something back, their self, their clarity, their peace, their voice, their ability to say no, their ability to be alone without feeling empty, their ability to stop confusing chaos with connection. The fifth rare power is the ability to choose peace even when the heart still aches. This is one of the hardest powers to develop because a broken empath may still love the person they walked away from. They may still miss the friendship they outgrew. They may still grieve the family role they had to stop playing. They may still remember the good moments, but they no longer let good memories erase painful patterns. They have learned that missing someone does not always mean going back. Sometimes missing someone is just the heart grieving the version of them you hoped was real. Sometimes loneliness is not a sign that you made the wrong choice. Sometimes loneliness is the space where your nervous system is learning not to crave chaos. Sometimes peace feels unfamiliar because pain was familiar for too long. And the empath who survives darkness learns to sit with that unfamiliar peace until it becomes home. There is a woman walking alone in the evening. She thinks about someone she once loved deeply. For a moment, grief rises. She misses their voice, their softness, the possibility she once believed in. But then she remembers the whole story, the confusion, the waiting, the emotional weight, the way her body felt around them, the way her joy got smaller. And she keeps walking, not because she feels nothing, because she finally understands that healing is not the absence of pain. Healing is the moment pain no longer gets to choose your direction. That is power. The sixth rare power is silence, not silence from fear, not silence from being shut down, not silence because they have no words, a different silence, the silence of an empath who no longer performs their wound for people committed to misunderstanding it. Before the darkness, they explained everything. They wrote long paragraphs. They softened their pain. They added context. They apologized for feeling hurt. They tried to make their boundaries sound gentle enough to be accepted. After the darkness, they understand something painful. People who respect your heart do not need a perfect explanation to stop hurting it. And people who do not respect your heart will turn your explanation into a debate. So the empath stops over-explaining. They speak simply. I cannot do this anymore. This does not feel safe for me. I am not available for this pattern. I understand, but I am choosing peace. Then they stop performing emotionally. That silence confuses people who are used to the empath's explanations, because explanations meant hope. Silence means decision. The seventh rare power is the ability to turn pain into purpose. This is where the broken empath becomes almost unrecognizable. They take the pain that once made them feel weak and turn it into wisdom. They take the betrayal that once made them doubt themselves and turn it into discernment. They take the loneliness that once terrified them and turn it into focus. They take the sensitivity that once overwhelmed them and turn it into intuition. They take the softness that was once used against them and place boundaries around it. They stop asking, why did this happen to me every day? And slowly they begin asking, what is this teaching me about who I must become? That question does not erase the pain, but it gives the pain a direction. There is an empath standing in front of a mirror after surviving a long emotional darkness. Their eyes look different, not innocent in the same way, not open in the same way, but deeper, clearer, more honest. They see the person who overgave, the person who trusted too fast, the person who ignored signs, the person who stayed too long, the person who kept choosing others while abandoning themselves. And instead of hating that version, they finally feel compassion. They whisper, you were trying to survive. That is healing, not shaming the old self, understanding it, then choosing not to live from that wound anymore. This is how the broken empath becomes powerful. They stop apologizing for the boundaries their pain made necessary. They stop calling discernment judgment. They stop calling self-protection selfish. They stop calling emotional exhaustion love. They stop calling their intuition overthinking. They stop calling their needs a burden. They stop calling peace loneliness. They become someone their own nervous system can finally trust. And when that happens, everything changes. They no longer chase everyone. They no longer explain everything. They no longer absorb every mood. They no longer rescue every wounded person. They no longer mistake being needed for being loved. They no longer give full access to half-safe people. They still love, but now love has standards. They still care, but now care includes themselves. They still forgive, but now forgiveness does not automatically reopen the door. They still feel deeply, but now they do not carry everything they feel. This is the rare power only a broken empath awakens after surviving the darkness. The power to stay human without staying naive. The power to stay soft without staying unprotected. Power to see pain without becoming responsible for everyone's healing. The power to walk away without hatred. The power to remain quiet when the old self would have begged to be understood. The power to choose peace without needing everyone to approve it. Power to belong to yourself after years of being emotionally available to everyone else. And if this is you, if you are the empath who had to break before you became clear, do not be ashamed of your darkness. Do not shame the nights you cried. Free. Do not shame the times you stayed too long. Do not shame the version of you who believed the apology, answered the message, forgave the pattern, or gave one more chance. That version was not stupid. That version was still learning that love without protection becomes pain. Now you know, and because you know, you will move differently. You will feel the red flag and pause. You will hear the apology and watch the behavior. You will sense the fake energy and step back. You will feel guilt and not obey it. You will miss someone and not return. You will love deeply and still protect your peace. You will walk alone when the wrong company costs too much. And one day the right people will meet you. Not the unprotected version, not the desperate version, not the version who gave everything to be chosen. They will meet the awakened version, the one who survived the darkness and did not become cruel, the one who still carries light but no longer hands it to everyone, the one who understands that softness is sacred, the one who knows that peace is not something to gamble with. The one who finally belongs to themselves. The rare power only a broken empath awakens after surviving the darkness is not the power to become untouchable. It is the power to touch life again with a heart that is still soft, still loving, still deep, but finally protected.